This time last year, we were knee-deep in the first season of Adventure Time's young adult animated series, Fionna and Cake. An amazing month-long event that got us acquainted with the real Fionna Campbell and her laid-back companion, Cake the Cat, as they embarked on a multiversal adventure that gave us a peek into engaging alternate realities, alongside the return of fan favorites such as Simon, Finn, Prismo, and Betty, technically. And while all of that was happening, we were also getting a cozy little slice of life B-plot with Marshall Lee and Gary? It was peak TV, bro! While these 10 episodes were a breath of fresh air and created a pretty big resurgence for Adventure Time as a whole, the show was only around for a few weeks and quickly faded from the conversation until a second season was announced a few months later in December 2023. But here we are 9 months later, and despite 2 more series and a movie being announced for the franchise, news on Fionna and Cake Season 2 has been non-existent from Max themselves. And looking at how they usually move with animation, and really most of their shows, we probably won't get an official update until the season is right around the corner. Or maybe one of the 2 big Comic-Cons. Luckily, that's where I come in. Even though the streaming service might be radio silent, information on the next season has still trickled out and flow under the radar of a lot of fans. So why not break it all down? We're going to run through everything we know about Fionna and Cake Season 2 so far. Like when we can expect to see this bad boy on our screens, what characters are confirmed to appear in this season, and any potential recasts that might happen due to scheduling conflicts. It might be rough for Marshall Lee fans. And real quick, I just wanted to plug our new channel, Roundtable Rewind, presenting a bunch of old videos, re-edited into themed compilations that you can throw on while studying, drawing, sleeping, or just doing some chores. We got a Gravity Falls one out right now, but some more compilations like Steven Universe and Adventure Time aren't too far behind, so be sure to subscribe. And if you want to help us fund some more cool art commissions for videos, like this thumbnail drawn by the amazing Hats Off Media, consider supporting us over on Patreon, where for only $1, you can get sneak peeks and have your name featured at the end of videos. Links to everything in the description. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now on to the video. First things first, which characters from the Adventure Time mythos are coming back for Season 2? Well, we actually have solid confirmation on a handful of characters, thanks to an Instagram story from the talented Roz Ryan, who's of course Cake's voice actress. Some of these characters being new additions to Fionna and Cake itself. Back in July, Ryan shared that she was recording for an episode titled The Crocodile Who Bit a Log, with a stacked cast list that reveals characters who are presumably major players in its story. Of course, we have Fionna and Cake, but we also have Huntress Wizard and Spirit Dream Warrior, 2 Adventure Time characters whose versions we're familiar with, absent in the first season of Fionna and Cake. We got Hunter instead of Huntress Wizard in Fionna World, and she popped up in the Vampire World. But aside from Finn mentioning her in the second episode, the OG Huntress Wizard we know and love was absent, leaving fans who ship her and Finn in anguish as their relationship status eludes us for another 2 years. And Spirit Dream Warrior didn't appear at all in Fionna and Cake. He's someone who I believe only appeared once in the original series, in the episode Flute Spell, where he was summoned by Huntress Wizard and Finn. It's implied he has a past of Huntress Wizard, so perhaps that'll finally be explored in this season, as Fionna and Cake is a show that manages to tackle unresolved questions while still doing its own thing. However, it's entirely possible that this Huntress Wizard and Spirit Dream Warrior are from another universe, thus having a different history from the characters we're familiar with. Still, I'm very excited to see more Huntress Wizard, especially if being listed high up in the list means she's playing a big role in the episode. Simon's also in this episode, potentially confirming that we'll continue to follow his journey in Season 2, unless again, multiverse. But seeing more of our Simon is something I'm really rooting for, and I would love to see what's in store for him, where he ends up, if he'll end up moving to Fionna World, and if he'll find love again. Honestly, I could see Simon finding a new home, whether if that's in his dimension or not, being a driving force of Season 2. It would give the show a new reason to go multiverse hopping. Marshall Lee, Gary, and LSP are also confirmed for this episode, and while I'm totally fine with the Fionna World cast being confined to more slice of life adventures, because I seriously love the Adventure Time meets Tuca and Birdie vibe they brought to the first season, I'd also love if they got more involved in Fionna and Cake's adventures. Let me see Vampire Marshall Lee. That's gotta be one of the next big things they're booting up to, right? And since we're going to infinite universes, is it too far-fetched to think that other versions of these characters could exist? I know Prismo made them, so it tracks that they're the only gender-bent universe out there, but also also, it's infinite realities, bro. I'm not convinced that Prismo created the only Marshall Lee out there. Or maybe the world being canonized created more universes where they exist. It's a cartoon! We can make just about anything work if we're creative enough. One character on this list that really surprised me is Cairo Siphon, who was introduced in the 4th episode of Fionna and Cake as someone getting hunted by Scarab for abandoning his post and running away to another dimension. Perhaps his disdain for whatever the sacred flames are will play a big role in season 2. I love when one-off lines in cartoons come back into play a dozen episodes later. And although season 1 felt pretty self-contained, bringing back seemingly one-off characters can make the whole thing feel more cohesive. We also got a brand new character named Witch Wizard, which supports the idea that Huntress Wizard will play a big role in this episode. Finn and Princess Bubblegum are also confirmed for this episode, which is always nice to see. I really hope this means that Fionna finally gets a chance to meet our Finn, but if this ends up being a variant, I'll still appreciate any and all interaction. I just want to see the two kick ass together. Unfortunately, we have to address an elephant in the room. Recast. As although most of the voice actors are returning for the 2nd season, at the time of Roz Ryan recording this episode, Huntress Wizard, Witch Wizard, and Marshall Lee are all currently uncasted. All of the voices listed as to be determined, which obviously makes sense for Witch Wizard because homie's a new character. They gotta find a voice. But Huntress Wizard and Marshall Lee not having voices are very concerning, especially Marshall Lee, as everyone loves Donald Glover's performance for him. Most people would probably argue that you can't have Marshall without Glover. Sadly, reality is often disappointing. A Huntress Wizard recast isn't a huge gut punch, as she had 3 different voice actors already between the OG series and a game, on top of Vico Ortiz voicing Hunter, so Jenny Slate being too busy to return, while a bit disappointing, is an easier pill to swallow. It seems like Slate has quite a few projects on the horizon, and I'm sure not everything has been publicly announced yet, so odds are coming back to voice Huntress Wizard just wasn't in the cards with a busy schedule, leaving Huntress Wizard's voice in the hands of Muto and casting. Of course, it's also possible that they were trying to work out a way for Slate to fit Huntress into her schedule when Roz Ryan recorded this episode, but if they're trying to get this out as soon as possible, they might just bite the bullet and follow through with a recast. Hell, they had no qualms recasting Prismo in season 1, and that boiled down to a miscommunication, which makes me hopeful that Camille Nanjiani will return to voice him in season 2, making it so he just took a season off instead of bowing out from the franchise for good. But bowing out for a season might also be the case with Donald Glover, as all signs point to Marshall Lee having a new voice actor for the season, because they're recording these episodes during the worst possible time when it comes to getting him in the booth. If you're a big fan of Childish Gambino, then you know he's been insanely busy this summer with the rollout of his new album, Bando Stone in the New World. He's been going through the gauntlet of interviews, touring, and even has an upcoming movie accompanying the album. He's been going all out, and it's actually been taking a toll on him physically, as he just had to postpone the rest of his North America tour because of health concerns. On top of that, he's also one of the creators and presumably showrunners on Amazon Prime's Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is a banger by the way. Season 2 of that's underway, so with Glover as one of the creators and leads, he'll be pretty busy after the tour ends. Suffice to say, he's beyond booked up for the foreseeable future, and finding the time to voice Marshall Lee doesn't seem to be in the cards. I imagine things will be way less chaotic if they get a 3rd season, since the tour and movie will be out of the way, and he'll be able to reprise the role of Marshall Lee once more. I could be wrong, but again, all the signs are there. Prayers up for whoever replaces him for the season though. Those are big shoes to fill. Last but certainly not least, when are we going to get our hands on season 2? Well, I think this is actually pretty easy to figure out, based on previous patterns for not just season 1, but a buttload of animated series on streaming. Animation takes a while to make, about 2 years to create an entire season of television from start to finish. In the before times, it was common practice to order multiple seasons of a show at the same time, and eventually that morphed into ordering one big season but releasing it as 2 or more seasons, which is definitely just a scummy practice to avoid giving a show's team raises and such. But both of these, alongside the near forgotten practice of airing 1 episode a week, were a way to ensure that episodes would be released on a consistent basis, getting at least 1 new season a year. Nowadays, you'd be lucky to get picked up for 2 seasons at once. A lot of cartoons only get 1 at a time, and it's one of the many ways the animation industry has been put through the ringer over the years, as people roll off whatever season they're working on and risk being out of a job for months, and by the time another season gets greenlit, they're already working on something else. Or because the show is out of production, a lot of companies just opt to cancel it altogether. With that being said, Fionna and Cake is a show that was picked up for one season, but had the fortune to get renewed for another, because it did really well for Max. But because it didn't get renewed until a few months after the first season, odds are we're at least another year out until we get our hands on season 2, making it another 2 years between seasons. A safe estimation for season 2's premiere would either be late summer 2025 or fall 2025. Maybe early 2026 if they want to drop all the episodes at once, like so many other animated series on their platform, because then all the episodes need to be ready to go before release, whereas season 1 started airing while they were finishing up the last few episodes. It's like Invincible. It was picked up for one season at once, but then got picked up for more. Since season 2 wasn't in production when season 1 finished airing in spring 2021, it didn't start rolling out until fall 2023, 2 years later. I know this was a lot of yapping to say, it's dropping next year, but I think laying it all out on the table makes it a lot easier to see why that's the most likely conclusion. And there you have it, everything we know about Fionna and Cake season 2. Share your thoughts on everything in the comments down below, and keep the conversation going over on Twitter and Instagram at AltricVox and at Roundtable Vids. Shout out to my boy Hats Off Media for another bigger thumbnail. Be sure to check out some of his videos, and if you enjoyed this one, throw it a like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. Peace.